neighborhood meeting. We got a lot to tell you about. My name is Karen Franklin. I'm the project manager for this project with the town of Leesburg. Also here from the town of Leesburg, we have Renee LaFollette, back of the room. She's the Director of Public Works and Capital Projects. And Doug Wagner's over here. He's the Assistant Director of Capital Projects. We also have some team members from WSP. They are our design firm. So we have Troy Biggs, Aaron Jordan, John, and Anna Alley. Phew. A lot to get through. Sorry about that. All right, so I got to go through a few administrative things. So I want to read you a note about council participation. So we want to thank you for participating in the Town Branch Stream Channel Improvements Neighborhood Meeting. Please note that members of the Town Council may be present to learn and observe the presentation and discussion, just like members of the public are. However, this is not a forum for questions from the community to the council members or for discussion of the merits of any issue by the members of council. We thank you for your anticipated cooperation. Bathrooms are in the hallway if you need them. We are going to you've got the recording. We are recording the presentation, and we are going to record the group questions and answers that we're going to have right after the presentation. The audio in the room is on, so if you guys are chatting in the back, the recording is probably going to pick it up. We do have the camera off, so nobody in the audience is being filmed at this point. The individual Q&A is going to happen where you guys have a chance to look at the roll plots and talk individually with the engineers. We're not recording that part. So just a little, go through the agenda real quick. We're going to talk about the location and history of the stream. We'll talk about the existing conditions. We'll discuss a little bit what will happen if we don't restore Town Branch. We're going to go through the project goals and the benefits. We'll talk about the project challenges and some of the milestones to date that we've met. We're going to go over some of the concept design elements, and then we'll open it up to overall project questions. And at this point, we'll answer questions as a group, but we're asking you to hold your property specific questions for when we get over and look at the roll plots. Then, like I said, we're going to break out to the stations where you can view the concept details and ask property specific questions. So the project location is Town Branch. You guys all know this because you live there, but Town Branch between Mosby Drive and Newhall Place. What happened here? Got a little overzealous. From the top at Catoctin Circle to the bottom at Morgan Park. So that's the section of the stream that we're talking about tonight. So a little bit of history of the project. This is an urban stream, because we've had development along it. So Mosby Drive was developed in the late 1960s, early 1970s. Newhall Place was developed in the mid 1990s. And then around 2020, residents identified concerns with property risks. So the town conducted a study and completed it in July of 2021 and applied for $1 million in grant funds from the Department of Environmental Quality, Stormwater Local Assistance Funds. So with that development, it has made Town Branch into what we consider to be an urban stream, and that's because of the development along the stream. A little touchy. Sorry, guys. So I want to talk a little bit about the existing conditions along the stream. You guys know what the stream looks like right behind your house, but you might not know what it looks like in other areas. It's not the same across the whole stream, but in general, we have significant bank erosion. You can see that in some of these pictures here. We have a lot of stream bank instability along the stream. We do see a threat to property loss, tree damage, and there are safety issues, but it is an urban stream corridor, and we're going to talk about that in the next slide. So urbanization has changed the overall drainage areas that feed Town Branch, and with the increase in intensity and frequency of large storms, we are observing an acceleration of the channel evolution process. So if we talk about the channel evolution process, we started with a stream that was kind of like this, where we have sort of a not too wide base with some sloping slopes, and they're not too deep. But then over time, because of this intensity and frequency of large storms, we start to see the stream drop So the bed gets deeper. We get these really steep sides. And then we move into the widening stage, where now the sides start to fall into the stream. Sometimes the trees fall into the stream, and you wind up with some of this deposition down here, and the stream starts to get really a lot wider. And then you start to see this deposition and stabilization. However, when we get the next kind of high intensity storm, all that deposited material tends to wash away, and we get back to this stage again. So what we need to make sure you understand about this model is we'd like to get to this stage, get the stream back to a stable state, but it's highly unlikely that the stream is going to reach stage 5 without help from us. So that's what we're talking about with this project, is trying to restore the stream back to what we consider to be a stable state. So the project location does have some different sections that the engineers have identified: an upper section, a larger middle section, and a lower section. And in those sections, we're seeing some different activities happening. Right now, we see the stream in stage 2, stage 3, and stage 4 stages. And we'll talk about which stages those are happening. So in the upper section, we're in stage 2, the deepening phase. And then eventually it's going to start widening. But right now, the upper section is in a deepening stage. So that's what this picture is showing, that the banks are getting steeper. In the middle section, it's in the process of widening. So we have these really steep banks already. And now trees are starting to fall in, the soil is starting to fall in and wash away. So we're starting to see that part of the stream widen. In the lower section, we do have some riprap and gabions, along with some burns. Those are considered stream stabilization elements and are easier and less expensive to install, but are a more temporary option and don't bring the stream to the stable state we desire on the channel evolution slide that we looked at before. In this case, the previously installed gabions and burns are causing water to flow behind the burn, and the water cannot return to the stream until close to Morgan Park Road. This project is a stream restoration project intended to be a more permanent solution to bring the stream to a stable state again. Again, that's that stage 5 on the channel evolution. So we do have some existing easements along the stream branch corridor. Mosby Drive side, we have a 25 to 30 foot storm drainage easement along the backs of the properties. On the Newhall Place side, we have a variable width 25-year and 100-year floodplain easements. And again, those start from the back of the property lines. Both storm and floodplain easements do permit storm restoration work. We also have some access easements near Kentucky Circle and Morgan Park Road. So on each end, plus we can gain access from Newhall Place next to the storm pond. Dominion and Verizon do also have an easement across the back of some of the properties on Mosby Drive. So when you look at the plot over in the other room, you're going to see some of these symbols. And the purple hatch is going to mean floodplain, green is going to mean a drainage easement. So when you get over there, this is kind of what the plot looks like. So you can see that, like, the purple hatching, that's a floodplain easement. Hang on a second. And this shaded one would be the Dominion Verizon easement that I was talking about. So you're going to be able to orient yourself to the plot when we get over there. So what might happen without this project? We asked the engineer to conduct some modeling to help us understand what might happen if we don't do this project. They do this modeling over a 30-year period. The modeling is variable. So what they did was we had some data from 10 years ago, and then we had the data that we collected for this project. And we used that to calibrate the model because we could see how the stream had degraded in that 10-year period. And that was used to sort of calibrate the model so that then we could determine what's the model telling us. These orange lines are existing bank line. So we've got the steep bank in the bottom. And then the blue line is the model line that says somewhere in this 30-year period, the stream might be dropping this much. Each one of these lines is a foot. So we're talking about 3.5 feet additional drop essentially for this cross section. So what we did was we took a cross section of the stream and then we're looking at it down or up the stream. This section isn't quite so bad. We're about a little over a foot drop and not so much widening. You can see this one, we're talking about that deepening and widening happening. So the modeling period is variable. And what we mean by that is even just since the study was performed in 2021, the engineers have seen significant changes to the stream. It's getting deeper on the upstream area and wider and filling in on the lower side. So the stream is dynamic and is changing rapidly. So even though we say it's a 30-year period, some of this might happen sooner. Some might take 30 years to happen. All right, so the project goals. We're going to restore the stream to a more natural condition. So that's stream restoration, not stream stabilization. It's going to minimize the bank erosion, improve wildlife habitat, reestablish the native plants. It's going to reduce property loss, down trees and debris jams. Again, we're trying to get to this stable position here. The bonus is that it's also going to reduce nutrient loading downstream into the Chesapeake Bay, which is the eligibility element to get the grant funds that we got from DEQ. So what are some of the benefits? We talked about the reduced erosion. These are before and after shots for other stream restoration projects that our engineers have worked on. So you can see here, this looks pretty similar to some of the areas on Town Branch. But now they've put this imbricated wall in. We're going to see that in some of the sections on Town Branch to help with that situation. And look at the difference. It doesn't even look the same. So we're going to protect property and reduce that loss of trees. Here's another one where we're going to generate more gradual slopes down to the stream. So you can see here they were very steep. And then afterwards, we have the more gradual slopes down to the stream. We're going to see improved habitat using native species. So this is actually in the town, the confluence with Tuscarora, and it was eroding pretty badly, and now it's not. And that looks like a pretty good wildlife habitat area. All the disturbed areas will be replanted. This picture, 2020 to 2023, for the Tuscarora Stream Restoration Project here in Leesburg. It's a big difference in how the plants look. So they do grow fairly quickly. And this is another picture where we had, this is different, not in town, where right after the project and just 3 years later, it's a very different picture. So the plant growth does come back fairly quickly. So some of the challenges on this project, we have many stakeholders. Every one of you is a stakeholder. And we need to, the project is trying to balance at-risk property needs while minimizing grading and property impacts. That's a high order. We're balancing as best we can everybody's different needs. Existing private property and trees that are located within the storm easements and project area will require removal. We have to do a lot of grading to put in the design elements I'm going to talk about in a couple minutes. The only way we can do that is trees come out. But it's within the storm drainage easements that we have already. More time was needed to get to this point, and we really appreciate your all's patience as we work through some of these things. We had to postpone a meeting with DEQ due to an injury they had. They couldn't walk the corridor with us. We did additional review to develop the concept plan that we're showing you today. And this is just a concept plan. We haven't done the detailed engineering yet, but we had to go through several iterations to, again, try to meet this balance as best we could. The project cost is coming up higher than we originally estimated, so we are pursuing some additional funding sources. We found some underground electric and phone that's within the project area and may require relocation. New easements may be needed for that. We don't know that yet. We're initiating discussions with them, so we'll know more as we move forward. During construction, we're going to be working around existing storm and sanitary facilities. We have a challenging construction access. Again, remember I told you we have access at both ends. We got to get the equipment across there. It's my phone. You flip it over just so it's laying. Sorry about that, guys. So I was talking about the narrow corridor. So we've got a narrow corridor and we're trying to get the equipment back and forth along that corridor. Construction timing and tree removal may also be impacted by the Endangered Species Act. For those of you who may not be aware, the long-eared bat has been added to the Endangered Species Act. Virginia is one of their potential habitat areas. So we've got to do more research to understand if we have bats in the area, and that may impact when we can remove trees, cut down trees. The act requires you to cut down trees in the winter time when they have migrated south. So the milestones we've completed to date. In July of 21, we completed the study, applied for the grants. In December, we received notice that we had received that grant. That allowed us to move this project up in the CIP. You know, some of you were involved with talking to council to get this moved up. And one of the things we needed was the funding to be able to do that. So that happened. So we put it in the CIP to start in the summer of 2022. So in July, we started the design work and we completed the field work that fall. In the spring of 2023, the engineer supplied the initial preliminary concept plan, which we started reviewing, adjusting more. In October, the engineers supplied, in summer, they gave us a reworked concept plan, and we were able to finally meet with DEQ. In October, we had our initial preliminary floodplain analysis submitted from the engineer. And the purpose of that is to make sure that the project isn't increasing the water levels during rain events. That's pretty important also. So then we did some more reworking on the concept plan. So it's kind of an iterative process at this point for us to get to the concept plan that you're seeing. So in the winter, we also had to do some additional survey work, and you guys might have gotten a notice on that if you're on Mosby side. So we had to go out there and do some additional surveying work and get the utilities to locate those lines so we could make sure they were on the plan properly to determine if they really are in conflict or not. And then May, here we are. We're going to show you our revised concept plan for presenting to you and getting your input. So the concept design calls for regrading the stream banks within the existing storm easements. And again, this is going to require removal of vegetation and structures that are within the project area. We're going to remove the berms and gabion walls. We're going to remove failing walls and incorporate new walls where appropriate. We're going to add elements to reduce stream bed erosion. And I'll show you some of those. We're going to replant with vegetation to stabilize the stream banks. We'll use on-site materials wherever possible. And we're going to maintain water levels currently experienced during rain events as much as possible. So what are some of the stream restoration elements? We've got elements that we're going to use to reduce the energy and velocity of the stream, because it's the fast velocity that causes the erosion. So these elements are all intended to help reduce the energy of the stream, reduce the velocity of the stream so that we can reduce the erosion to the banks. So we're looking at cascades and riffles. We're putting in pools, which helps to sort of calm the water, slow it down. We're talking about adding crossveins. These crossveins, this is what one looks like before the water is added. It centers the water to the middle of the stream, gets it away from the banks. When the water's running right down the bank, it tends to erode the bank. So these crossveins help to center the water down the middle of the bank, or the middle of the stream. The imbricated walls, where I said we might be replacing some walls, where we have limited space, both vertically and horizontally, which happens in some places on the stream, we are going to be adding some imbricated walls. We're going to add natural on-site materials. We'll use that wherever possible. So some of the trees that might have to come down might get incorporated into the stream restoration. Rocks that we find are going to get incorporated into the stream restoration. So this is what the concept design looks like. I showed it to you before for the easements, but here you can see this is a pool. So you've got all the symbols are going to be down here. Here's a cross vein. You can see where it shows up. This shaded area is the existing stream. And then this area here would be the new stream bank. So you can get a feel for how is it different and what type of elements might you have out your back door. So again, we're trying to dissipate the velocity and energy of the water with these elements. These pink lines, that's what we're calling our LOD, limits of disturbance. So anything within those pink lines, we may have to be grading. So the milestones moving forward for the design phase. In July, we're going to take all the feedback we received from you and try to finalize that concept plan. By February, the engineers are promising me a 90% submittal of the design. So that means we're kind of almost through the design process, but not quite fully. We're going to present that to you so that we can get some additional feedback just if we can. In the summer, the engineer is going to submit us final plans for us to review and come final plans so that in the summer, we can hopefully initiate any land acquisition we might need. Remember, I said we might need some easements for utility relocation. So that would be when we would start that. And in the spring of 2026, assuming we've gotten all the land acquisition easements we need, we would start our utility relocation. And then once we have the relocation done, hopefully in the fall of 2026, we can award the contract and they can start working. It's important to note that this land acquisition and utility relocation, it's really hard to predict how long that's going to take. So it may take longer, we might get done quicker. Just depends. So in closing, I just want to say stream restoration works. You get more gradual banks. You can see reduced erosion. We improve the wildlife. Bonus, we improve the water quality to the Chesapeake Bay, so the crabs are happy. And here's another before and after shot. Actually, this one was getting very close to their trail, so they actually moved it further away from the trail. Plant growth does happen quickly. These are three pictures from the same season, beginning of the season to the end of the season. I think it's a marked difference just in one season, but it also, in just 3 years, you can see a major difference in the plant areas. So at this point, you're going to restart the recording. We're going to open it up to questions.
We were remiss in introducing Mayor.
Oh, I'm sorry.
She is here